Well, how did he get this car?
Right.
Was it drugs?
Right.
I hear that. Hey, believe it or not, I hate to say this. I hear that amongst Israelites who
Right.
repented. I
Right.
still hear that.
Right.
You go into a community, a brother will pull up with a nice whip. Oh, probably a drug dealer.
Right.
I'm like, wow, our people are bugged out.
Right.
That's still, I'm telling you, that Willie Lynch goes so far.
Yeah.
It's still embedded in the minds of our people.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Fairstein blasted the public outrage sparked by Friday's premiere of the 4-part When They See Us, about the convictions and subsequent exonerations of 5 teens in the 1989 rape and assault of Trisha Melee while she was jogging in Central Park. Fairstein, who oversaw the prosecution and is portrayed by scandal-scarred actress Felicity Huffman, said the show depicts me in a fictionalized version of events in a grossly and maliciously inaccurate manner. She also said she was sorry. She also said that she was sorry that the staff of Safe Horizon, through their CEO Ariel Zwang, declined to meet with me to learn the truths behind the inflammatory and false narrative. I know the terrible inequities of race, gender, and class that have been a tragically pervasive part of American criminal justice system for centuries, she wrote. I have dedicated my career and my professional and personal passion.
But you know what's crazy? She's talking about terrible inequities of race, gender, and class. But meanwhile, when these young men were being wrongfully coerced and indicted and so forth, they were calling them a pack of wolves, beasts, and this and that. They already tarnished their whole reputation in the media, in the newspapers at that time.
Right.
To taint the minds of the jurors.
Mm-hmm.
So, inequity, like, what is she talking about? All the propaganda that they had against these young men?
Right.
So I'm telling you, they speak with a forked tongue, man.
It's the pride of these people.
Speak with a forked tongue.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's just like in BET. All the time, that's all you see. Baby mamas, that's all you see is whores shaking their backsides, in front of TV. All you see is gangsters with tats. They still do the same thing,
Yeah, but in that situation, you have brothers and sisters who are willfully doing that. Instead of putting a gun or a noose to their neck and telling them they better jump, what they're doing, they're putting a paycheck in front of them. And the money, which is the root of, or the love of money, which is the root of all evil, is persuading these brothers and sisters to coon.
Right.
Okay? And of course Esau's gonna run with that.
Right.
They're not gonna be like, no, don't do that. That's not civilized. I'm like, hell no. They making MTV mad money, BET mad money by doing that. So they're not gonna stop that.
Right.
Okay? But I understand I understand what you're saying.
The thing with her, she said she's been fighting for social justice for 45 years. So she was so innocent in this case. Why did she step down? Why didn't she fight for her innocence? If she was so innocent in this case, she fought for social justice. Why don't she fight for herself? That's telling me that she knows she's guilty. That's why she stepped down. She's embarrassed now.
Yeah, and I think there was another DA. I'm not sure if he was a DA or not, but there was somebody else involved that was a high-appointed law officiant, and he said he wrongfully put all his trust in her.
Wow.
So that's her colleague saying that,
Right.
and he read those 117 papers,
Right.
Because now they throwing it. You have this one detective who was part of the investigation. He's gonna come out with a book. He's saying, they got it wrong. The kids are lying, and they gave them all this money for no reason. He's gonna come. He said he's working on a book now, right? But nobody's talking to that other district attorney,
Right.
okay? And he read those 117 pages.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
I have dedicated my career and my professional and personal passion to fighting against injustice. And much of that fight has been conducted for and on behalf of the staff and directors at Safe Horizon, she wrote. Fairstein told the Post that she sent similar letters resigning from the boards of God's Love We Deliver.
God's love, we deliver.
Oh, God.
All right, go ahead.
The Joyful Heart Foundation, which was founded by actress Marquisa Hargitay to aid survivors of sexual assault, domestic violence, and child abuse, and Vassar College, from which Fairstein graduated in 1969. Fairstein said she was forced to act due to the mob mentality reaction to the Netflix series, which led to a cancel Linda Fairstein movement on social media that included pledges to withhold donations to Safe Horizon. Each of these organizations does great work, she said. It's so foolish of these bullies to punish the charities. Totally pig-headed and stupid.
Come on.
Former federal prosecutor Michael Armstrong, who helped reinvestigate the Central Park 5 case for the NYPD in 2003, called the backlash against Fairstein entirely unjustified.
Of course.
The idea she did anything to be criticized for is absurd, he said. Armstrong, who was chief counsel to the Anti-Police Corruption Knapp Commission in the 1970s, also said it was wrong to treat the dramatized series like evidence, adding that, in my day, we used to call that McCarthyism. Sorry. A former Safe Horizon employee said Fairstein's involvement had long been a contentious issue among staffers, but that repeated complaints to the agency's leadership were involved. Safe Horizon didn't respond to requests for comment.
So they got all this evidence, right? They got all this evidence, and now they're saying that she's wrongfully demonized. And you know what's crazy? The so-called demonization that she's going through is nothing compared to what these 5 young men went through.
Exactly, Cap.
You know, unless there's some, they've already released all the evidence. They had them locked up. You know, and apparently they got overturned because of DNA, right?
Right.
And the confession from Rise.
Yeah, right.
All right, that dude was a demon.
Yeah, straight demon.
He was a Simeonite too, right? With a crazy temper, hitting people over the head, raping people.
What the hell is this?
And he said it himself that he did it by himself. But they're saying no, he was the 6th man. They're saying he was the 6th man. He's the one that got away. So that's what Esau's trying to say.
Right.
All right. Let's go to the next article. Let's show the video. It's a World Star hip hop video. It should be right on that timeline on the AV Telegram. Go. No.
Which one?
Is that it? Nope. Go up. It's a World Star. You got to go back up to the very beginning.
Yeah.
The very. Keep going up. Keep going. Or we'll come back down. Wait. Come back down. No. Go up. I'm sorry. Go up.
That's a lot.
Keep
There was
going.
so much in the whole thing.
Go up. You're going to see it. It's going to say World Star. So as you're scrolling, go down. It's coming up. Nope. Right there. It says World Star here. Let's see if this is still up.
Because they will rip it down.
So she was able to have a good career, huh?
Yeah, from what I'm hearing, she did pretty good in her career. Go ahead.
She got to do something with that hair.
A former prosecutor at the center of New York's notorious Central Park 5 rape case faces very strong backlash after the release of a hard-hitting Netflix series. Linda Fairstein stepped down from the boards of a college and a nonprofit charity. She was the top Manhattan sex crimes prosecutor when 5 teenagers were wrongfully convicted following the 1989 attack on a female jogger. CBS's Morning Saturday co-host Michelle Miller has covered the Central Park 5 for years and joins us with this latest turn of events. Michelle, good morning to you.
Good morning. Many are hearing about this case for the first time because of the series When They See Us. Linda Fairstein is played by Felicity Huffman, a role filmed before Huffman admitted to participating in the college admissions scandal. She's seen as a single-minded prosecutor convinced of the young men's guilt.
They brutally raped a woman and discarded her like a piece of garbage.
When They See Us revisits Manhattan's Central Park 5, a case which drew national headlines in 1989. It focuses not only on the Black and Latino teens who were accused of attacking and raping a female investment banker, but also on the woman who helped successfully convict them, prosecutor Linda Fairstein.
These kids were on a rampage.
The accused later said they were coerced into confessing.
These young men were the proxies for all kinds of other agendas.
Sarah Burns produced and directed a 2012 documentary about the case.
I think a lot of people now with the new series are coming to this story and learning about what happened, and it makes people upset.
I didn't see a lady or hit anyone.
Raymond saw you hit her!
Who's Raymond?
The city
What's
of New
crazy
York
about
reached a
that, they didn't even
$41
know each
million
other.
settlement with the
They didn't
five
even
in
know each other, man.
2014,
And I know that's
years
a
after another
tactic. We're going to go into that a little later. Go ahead.
man confessed, linked to the crime by DNA evidence. Since the Netflix series debut last Friday, the backlash against Fairstein, now an author, has exploded. The hashtag Cancel Linda Fairstein trended on Twitter, and more than 75,000 people signed an online petition calling for a boycott of her children's books and mystery novels.
Raymond Santana left jail a free man.
We interviewed Raymond Santana, one of the Central Park Five, after his exoneration.
What do you say to the people out there who just don't believe you're innocent?
You know, these people have their mind fixated on us being guilty. We have tried everything we possibly could to prove our innocence. And our
once you
innocence
see that black skin, that brown skin, once you see the Negro and the Latino, you automatically think guilt. But it's supposed to be what? Innocent until proven guilty. But for us, it's guilty until proven innocent. You know? Go ahead.
That's why that title was so fitting,
Santana
When they see us.
now tells TMZ that Fairstein deserves the scrutiny she is now getting.
And even though it's 30 years later, she has to pay for her crime.
In the wake of the miniseries release, Fairstein has resigned from Vassar College's Board of Trustees, as well as the board of the victims service agency, Safe Horizon. In a letter to the agency's chairman, she says the show depicts me in a fictionalized version of events in a grossly and maliciously inaccurate manner.
I think in part why this is directed more at Linda Fairstein is that she has remained steadfast in her belief in the guilt of the Central Park Five.
In a statement to CBS this morning, Fairstein's lawyer said the series director Ava DuVernay ignored the vast majority of readily publicly available material about the case, all in the name of fabricated sensationalism. DuVernay declined our request for comment.
Well, Ava DuVernay was here at the table before the series came out, and it's very clear about all the research she had done, all the interviews that she personally conducted herself. And when you talk to the Central Park Five and you hear their story, and I asked them individually, does this film represent what happened to you all? And they said, it's eerie how dead on and how right they said Ava got this piece.
And if you're wondering what Fairstein thinks about the case, she talked to the New Yorker back in 2002 about the investigation. She said things like, a kid would say something like a dark-skinned guy who lives on 102nd Street, and these detectives would go out and find him. I think it was one of the most brilliant police investigations I've ever seen.
Bro, that's retarded. Did y'all just hear that?
In that Netflix documentary.
Did y'all just hear that?
You know how broad that is?
That's the thing. All black people look alike.
Right.
Hey, answer. Shalom, Most High in Christ bless. Thank you for calling in. Just turn down the whatever you're watching this program on. Most High in Christ bless.
Most High in Christ bless. Shalom, Captain. Shalom, officers.
Most High in Christ bless. Most High in Christ bless. So I was told we just showed a video on the backlash that this lady Fairstein was catching, and she was I believe the top prosecutor in this case. So I wanted you to elaborate on how most of the times, especially with cases like this, how you'll have the district attorney, possibly the sheriff or the police chief commissioner, and how basically everybody works together. Because it's all politics. All of that stuff is politics. Right. That's why the scriptures tell us don't entangle ourselves with the affairs of this life. But all the craftiness and the different subtleties that are behind the scene and how Esau works together to put brothers away. Could you talk on that?
Yes, sir. Captain, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate your show and what's being brought out here tonight. This is important because this happens on a day-to-day basis. And, multiple times a day. This prosecutor, when she prosecuted this case, she was not a junior prosecutor. She was the chief of sex crimes unit of the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Since 1976, between 76 and 2000, she had been prosecuting cases. She never tried a case by herself. She had other prosecutors with her. And so not only was it the prosecution that was faulty, we can look over at the sheriff department because, see, the prosecution took the evidence from the sheriff. Now, if it was in New York, I think they used boroughs.
Yes.
A lot of places use the word county. Same thing, though. You have a county sheriff or a borough sheriff, and they're responsible for arresting, for capturing, for investigating, and obtaining statements from the suspects. And that's what happened here. First thing that they did, and it came from the commission first, because the commissioner, the county commissioner or the borough commissioner, they're responsible for they're concerned about the economic realities of an area like New York. And so when these crimes were happening, of course, the commissioner is upset because now people are not going to come there and they're not going to spend any money, no tourism. So he puts pressure on the sheriff. Hey, go out and arrest some people. Get this worked out. They arrested these young men. These were children, ages 14, 15.
You know what's crazy, bro? For those of you listening, the brother on the phone is an expert in the law. So this is just not a regular brother who doesn't know what he's talking about. All right. But it's funny that you mentioned that because she just said, she told the police they went out and interviewed or arrested every dark-skinned person they could find.
Right.
So this is basically coinciding with what you just said. And this was from a 2002 report. This was quote unquote what she said.
Wow.
Go out and arrest every dark skin, meaning black.
Right.
And you Hispanics out there. Okay. Even some of you conquistador looking ones. Right. Go and arrest all of them.
Right.
And this coincides with exactly what you're bringing out. And I'm glad that you're saying explaining the correlation between the sheriff department and the DA and the pressure that's put on a lot of these police officers and so forth to go out and arrest and trying to meet their quota and so forth.
Right.
But go ahead, I'll let you finish.
Yes, sir. Let me add that the district attorney, now this particular prosecutor Feinstein, she may not receive any direct benefit. You know, she's a government employee. She's going to get her wages. But what she does get, she's a notable author. And, you know, when she leaves the office, she'll write a book about this and become a millionaire, instant millionaire. She's going to get all type of job opportunities because there are some who believe in what it is that she's done, regardless of what happened. So she says that, you know, she's going to have to give up the voluntary positions on some nonprofit boards. These young men spent 7 years in prison. They'll never get that back. And the confessions that they took, I mean, imagine this. You're 14 years old, and you don't have a lawyer in the room with you, and they're trying to tell you, yeah, you did this, you did this. The other boy said you did this. They're hungry. They want water. They need to use the restroom. We don't know how long that they had been interrogated.
According to documents, they said it was about 12 hours, over 12 hours.
That right there. Yes, sir. I would flip over that. I would have a big problem. I would ask for immediate dismissal if this was my case.
And then on top of that, the beginning part of the interrogation was not recorded. They didn't record it. It was not recorded. The only part of the boys' testimonials that was recorded is when they were coerced after all the pressure, the not eating, not being able to use the bathroom. There was certain part. The whole first 8 to 9 hours was not recorded.
Right.
Only the last few parts.
Yep.
That's similar to what transpired in IUIC. All the hell we was catching, right? You had brothers for throwing 10-minute tapes, cutting stuff up, editing stuff, not putting everything out there or keeping everything in context. That's the same thing that happened to these so-called Central Five, our brothers.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Captain, these were not voluntary statements. And so what's fundamental here is that the rights of these young boys were just, they were just thrown out the window, I say by the sheriff, and then certainly the prosecution knew the evidence from the sheriff. The due process rights is guaranteed by the United States Constitution, and the state will duplicate what the United States Constitution deals with. We're talking about that no citizen shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property except by due course of the law of the land. They didn't care about that. They threw that out the window, and they do it daily. If you don't have checks and balances, you're going to find yourself, if you don't have a video recording of the entire confession from the very beginning until the end, it doesn't work here in Texas. You get a case dismissed for that. Oklahoma's the same way.
Wow. Well,
And they
well, that's how it is now. But in it happened in 1989. But when did it go to court? 1991 or something like that. During that time,
during that time frame,
right? That law was in place where if you don't have the whole tape, it will get dismissed.
Well, the Constitution was in place, yes, sir. The due process rights guaranteed by the Constitution, they were in place. Now, the law specific for New York, I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't had much experience in New York.
Okay, understood.
But the Constitution hasn't changed since 17,
Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Understood. Now, let me ask you something, because over here in IUIC, we're all about solutions. Now, the young men that we have amongst us, because we know we're a target when it comes to living in this godforsaken place called Babylon the Great. Right. Now, what would be a solution? What would you recommend as a man that's an expert in the law of the land? What would you recommend in a situation like this that our young brothers and young sisters do?
On the first, you must be in a place that you can be protected. Be around people that you know are on your team. You can't be riding with, somebody that I just met at school, because you're going to get caught up in a situation that you didn't want to be a part of. The other thing is, if you do get caught up, you're riding in a car, the police try to arrest you along with everybody else in the car because there's a gun in the car. You don't just start talking. Well, look, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to explain everything. This is what I was doing. You keep your mouth closed. You don't ask for your mother. You don't ask for your father. You don't ask for your pastor. You ask for a lawyer. That's the only thing that they understand. And even then, they'll try to break you down, because they'll come back, but you ask for an attorney.
Okay,
so
let's say you're 14 years old and you ask for a lawyer. You can't afford a lawyer. So would the smart thing to do is to ask for your parent first, then a lawyer, or just ask for a lawyer?
Look, you can ask for your mom and dad all day, and they're going to keep on raping you and getting information from you.
Mm-hmm.
You ask for a lawyer, whether you can afford one or not, because you can't afford one. You can do a financial statement, and they'll appoint one to you.
Mm-hmm. So what happens if you get what we call the court-appointed lawyer with the suit from Gap? What do we do? What do you do with a court-appointed lawyer? I never liked court-appointed lawyers. But what in that situation? What do you do?
Hey, Cap, if you get a lawyer, that lawyer works for you. If you know what to ask for, you can look. The state bar of every state controls the behavior of a lawyer. If that lawyer doesn't file motions or ask for discovery or take care of the things they're supposed to, that lawyer can get hit in the head by the state bar and lose his license.
Okay, so you're basically
saying get that lawyer to work for you.
Yeah. Okay, all praises. So you're saying that lawyer, no matter what, he has to work for you.
Now, some lawyers are lazy. Some doctors are lazy.
Mm-hmm.
We have lazy construction workers. You have great construction workers. You have great taxi drivers. You have great lawyers and doctors. And so it's also innate in the. If you don't fit with this lawyer, if you don't have good rapport, fire him. Get another one.
Okay.
You have an absolute right to attorney of your choice.
That's beautiful. That's great. I love the solution. So the solution to that problem, if these brothers would have known, of course, if they were educated at that time about this, is basically keep your mouth shut. Right? Keep your mouth shut. Okay.
There was one of the young men didn't go to trial. And he did ask he said, I'm not confessing to none of this. He asked for counsel. He got a plea bargain.
Yes.
He didn't do no time.
Yes.
So he was the smart one.
Okay, understood. So brothers and sisters that are listening, get pulled over by the cops. If something like this, God forbid, this happens to you, man, just give them your ID, of course. They're going to take your ID. When you get interrogated, brothers and sisters, you ask for your lawyer. And actually, what you did last night, I need a lawyer. Did you use the bathroom today? I need a lawyer.
That's right.
What did you eat today? I need a lawyer.
That's
That'll just be me. I'll be a damn parakeet. They'll have to throw me out of the window head first. Because the only thing you're gonna get out of me is I need a lawyer.
I need a lawyer.
Why are you?
Right.
Why? What are those things on your shirt? I need a lawyer.
I need a lawyer.
But all praises, brother. Thank you for calling in. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, bro.
All praise to the Most High.
All praises to the Most High. Thank you.
That's some great advice. That's
you hear that, Israel? Because some of y'all will talk your way into trouble.
Right.
Okay. All right, we don't want to ever see this happen to any of our brothers and sisters. Get a lawyer. All right, it's in the Miranda. You have the right to remain silent. Anything that you say or do can be used against you. Do you want a lawyer? Yes.
Yes.
All right, that's exactly how we should conduct ourselves. Okay. What's the next one we had?
It's the Vlad TV.
Oh, is it the 4 hour one?
Yeah, it's the 4 hour one.
All right, let's see that.
Even though, too, Cap, we can comply all the time. We still got to keep in mind that the law is slack.
Yes.
So,
yes, absolutely. The law is slack. Okay. The law is slack concerning our people.
That's right.
And that's something that the Most High keeps showing us all the time, but we don't want to listen. We don't want to repent. We don't want to listen. Right. All right, this is a quick ad.
Okay, here we go. We have Raymond Santana and Yusuf Salam of the Central Park Five.
What's up?
What's happening?
All right, so you have
definitely
Santana
an honor to
here
have you guys.
and Yusuf
man.
Salam. All right, let's take that call. Shalom, Most High in Christ bless. Thank you for calling in.
Hey, shalom.
Most High in Christ bless, brother.
Most High in Christ bless.
Thank you for calling in. I wanted to ask you a question. Eventually we're gonna pull it up soon, but this is another brother who's up there and has expertise in the area of law as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay, in a situation where like how give me the intricate details of how Esau gets down in his law enforcement agencies, just to give these young brothers and sisters who are so precious in the eyes of the Most High, who are keeping the commandments. God forbid if they was to end up in a situation like the Central Park 5. Just give us a brief synopsis of what takes place in an interrogation room.
I want to first off say that I appreciate being on the show. The brother that was on before me was hitting it right on the nail. But just to add a little bit on what he made mention of, and you guys spoke on it earlier, the reason why they went around and they had to make arrests with, like y'all was mentioning, we was going to arrest every black and brown person that we saw, is because some heads was going to roll and some jobs was going to get lost. And they had to be able to take that to the press to say, hey, we've located who did this crime. You can't not have something like that go down with Becky and nobody's captured for it.
Hey, I'm glad you said that, brother. You said that goes down with Becky. She was young.
Right.
She was young. She had blonde hair, blue eyes, and she was an investment banker living in Manhattan. Living in Manhattan. And during this time, you had the East Side rapists. You had all these other maniacs running around. So they had to. I'm glad you said that, but go ahead.
Yeah, no. Somebody had to get captured. It's pressure because you have to be able to take that to the media, and that addressed the whole city. It addresses people. It gives maybe family members comfort that somebody was located, even if it's the wrong person.
Wow.
So that's what you're seeing with the Central Park 5. With the interrogation, some places may use good cop, bad cop terminology, or the Reed or Mutt and Jeff. It's all tactics to get a confession.
Okay.
That's really what it is. Basically, some of them will come in and will act nice. They'll play the guilt role with you, ask questions, maybe play like they're on your side. But it's all leading up to getting a confession.
Yes,
and you'll have the bad cop come in and do something totally different.
Yeah.
But just like what the brother made mention of, and just like you said about parakeeting, that Fifth Amendment, remaining silent, asking for an attorney. At that point, at least here in Texas, the interview or the interrogation is supposed to stop. They're not supposed to ask you any further questions if you ask for an attorney.
Absolutely.
At that point.
That's some good stuff. Now, you mentioned the Reed technique. We were going to go into that a little later in the show, but since you mentioned it, and you are an expert of the law as well, please, could you tell the listeners what exactly is the Reed technique?
The read technique is, let me see, hold on one second, because here in Texas, it's not like we make mention of that quite often, but just refreshing myself up on it a little bit. It's an abuse of interrogation methods and usually include falsely accused suspects being treated aggressively. That's really in a nutshell what I can make mention of. But like I say, here in Texas, we don't really, use that terminology.
So it's basically an interrogation that where the detectives or whoever's doing the questioning, they do it with an aggressive manner.
Oh yeah. They'll do whatever it takes, whether it's right or wrong, to get that confession.
Wow. So it doesn't matter if the confession was coerced or if the person just made it up because they want to get the hell out of that hell that they catching in their immediate presence. As long as they get something on paper, that's all that matters.
Absolutely. They got to be able to lock somebody down so they can say we got them.
Wow. So what happens?
And that's what you're seeing.
So what happens if they don't get somebody locked down? Is there some kind of punishment against that detective? Is there like a dock of pay? Do they have to go on desk duty? Do they get assigned to the worst neighborhood? What are some things that happens?
Oh, a lot of those things can happen. Everything that you made mention of could happen. That's why I made mention earlier. Some heads can roll, and some things could even get, go further with somebody's life. These detectives or whatever the case. So it could get very, very heavy.
Wow.
Very heavy.
Wow. It's funny that you said that because in Baltimore, not too long ago, there was about 8 cops, 2 Edomites, the rest were Jake, of course. They were all indicted on charges. And because what they were doing, they were falsely planting
weapons,
fake toy guns on brothers who they were arresting. If they accidentally shot them, which it wasn't accidentally, if they purposely shot them, they would plant a toy gun on them. And one of the officers flipped, and he was supposed to testify. So what he was doing was breaking the code of blue, that wall of silence. He was going to testify against his colleagues. The day before the court date, he was found shot in the head, and they ruled it a suicide, of course.
Yeah,
You're absolutely right about the head's gonna roll.
Right.
So
physically.
So let me ask you something, brother. What advice would you give the listeners, the viewers right now, like especially the young adolescents and teenagers who are more of a threat, or the males, the black male period, who's a threat to this society? What advice would you give us to handle ourselves in these kind of situations?
I would say, just like what the brother made mention of earlier, you do have to watch your surroundings. But when you grow up in the hood, you're going to be in the hood more often than somebody in the suburb areas or area that's a little more well off. I'll say if you come across police in any matter, they must prove what you have done or what they're charging you with. They have to prove that. So just like the brother made mention of earlier, keep your mouth closed, remain silent, ask for a lawyer.
Okay.
They have let them prove that you've done what they said you did.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. All praises to the Most High. Thank you for the advice, brother. I hope this goes a long way and the viewers are actually paying attention to this. All right. Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Okay. No problem. All praise. Shalom.
Right. Let's go back to that video. If you brothers got anything to say, I could chime in.
Yeah, I do. I want to. There's a scripture because based on what was seen in the film itself when they see us, and then to bringing up the point about the read technique, it reminds me of Psalms 55. The words being smoother than oil. Yeah. Okay. Give me Psalms 55 and start at verse number 19.
Now, as you get that, pull up the read technique, because a lot of brothers and sisters never heard of that thing. I never heard of that thing until the case. And I'm like, damn, this is an actual protocol.
It's a thing.
This is an actual method implied in law enforcement to get people to talk. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's
So what's the difference between that, the read technique, and the CIA or the military using that the water, how do you call it?
Waterboarding.
Waterboarding.
Oh yeah.
What the hell is the difference?
Yeah, it's really the same
They complain
thing.
about waterboarding. I don't hear nobody complaining about read technique
Right.
till now.
Yeah, it's really the same thing. It's really the same thing. You got that?
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 55 and verse 19.
Uh-huh.
God shall hear the afflicted them,
Uh-huh.
even he that abideth of the old.
Wait, started. I'm sorry. Verse 20.
You want verse
Yeah,
20?
verse 20. I'm sorry.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 55 and verse 20.
Uh-huh.
He had put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him.
Because when you watch this, this special, the one that ended up spending the most time in the penitentiary, Corey Wise, spent 16 years, but he wasn't even a part of the entire act. He wasn't even there. And all he did was committed himself to being a good friend to his boy and going to the station with him so his boy wouldn't be frightened.
And that's after the police said, hey, you want to, I believe, was that Sheehan?
Yeah,
the one that
right.
just passed away with cancer?
Yeah.
Told him, hey, you want to take a trip downtown with your boy?
Right.
You're going to be back.
Right.
He told him, you want to come take a trip?
Uh-huh.
And then from what I've been hearing about Corey Wise, he was one of those dudes that was always down to roll with his boys.
Right.
He was one of those dudes that if something popped off, he would never run and leave
Right.
you there.
Right.
So he told the police officer, yeah, sure, I'll come down.
Yeah.
Never did he think that that would be the last time. It's from 16 years
Right.
behind bars.
So his whole thing, he was at peace because he knew that he had nothing to do with nothing.
Hey, speaking of peace, even Yusuf Salam, what he said we liked police officers.
Right.
He said we was friends with most of them.
Right.
He said they were there to protect us.
Right.
So,
So
because when you look at them, Cap, they don't seem like some bad kids. Because back in 1989, cats at their age was out on the block selling.
Oh yeah, that was the crack era.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. They was,
I think I was what, like, well, I'm not gonna give away my age, but I was extremely young at that
Yeah,
time.
I get
And Ed Koch was the mayor. I didn't even know he was a mayor at that time.
I didn't know that.
As I got older and I knew what a mayor was, it was that's when I knew about David Dinkins and Mayor Giuliani. But Ed Koch, I would just read about him.
Right.
So he was the mayor at that time, and man, it was the drug epidemic. Crack was heavy. I remember crack vials in my building, shootouts.
Wow.
Going to sleep, all you hear is bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it was heavy back then. But these brothers, like you said, they had no prior
affiliation
arrest.
with that. Yeah,
Right.
they-
No prior,
criminal
no,
rec-
no
None.
prior conviction, no nothing.
None. So according to the law, they were at peace with the law.
Mm-hmm.
Corey had nothing to do with it. He went simply to be a support to his boy. Can you finish that out, Shema?
He had broken his covenant.
And they told every last one of those boys in their stories in the end, those boys said, we only said what we said because they said we could go home.
Hey, the scripture says, "Never trusteth thine enemy." That was very. I'm gonna keep it real with you. That was very foolish on
Yes,
their
it
part.
was. Yes, it was.
Say you did this. Say you raped a woman,
Right. And
sexually assaulted her, beat her to almost being dead.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna let you go home.
We're gonna let you go home.
Oh hell no! Come on, man.
Right.
I'm like, damn, what happened to the sense?
Right.
At 14, I had sense. Like, hell no, I don't believe that. That's a lie.
That
Yeah.
led me to believe, Cap, that them brothers wasn't streetwise. They wasn't on the corners selling drugs and doing nothing like that because they are know not to say nothing to the cops.
Right.
But let me know that them brothers was some squares. That's the only word I can use right now.
Right.
Them
Right.
guys was in school playing the trumpet,
Yeah.
hanging out with girls on the computers and stuff like that. So they wasn't street guys because, like you
Right.
said, Cap, even you at 14 knew
Hell
not
no.
to, do something
Hell
or say
no.
something or admit to anything like
Yeah.
that. So these was some innocent kids, man.
Right.
Absolutely, absolutely. But go ahead with the scripture.
Verse 21.
Uh-huh.
The words of his mouth were smoother than butter.
Because all of them said something to coerce these boys and make these boys not necessarily feel comfortable because they said that they also said we did not do it.
Right.
But they said things to try to make them feel comfortable in the coercion using this technique, this read technique to make them believe. They bewitched them into believing maybe we can go home. If we just go ahead and say it, I won't get smacked around in this room no more. I won't get hit in the face with this hard plastic or iron helmet no more.
Right.
Read.
But war was in his heart.
But war was in their heart. What type of war? That we've been at war with Amalek since we came out of Egypt. The first ones to go to war with the sons of Jacob. We've been at war with them ever since then. The Bible says they have a perpetual hatred with us. Right. So war is what was in their heart. Getting back at every one of us that they could is what was in their heart.
And it actually says that we're going to be at war with them from generation to generation.
That's right.
All right. But let's read about this technique here. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. The Reed technique is a method of questioning suspects developed by consultant and polygraph expert John Reed. Supporters argue that the Reed technique is useful in extracting information from otherwise unwilling suspects. While critics have charged that the technique can elicit false confessions from
can elicit false confessions, come on,
from innocent people, especially children. The Reed technique is a registered trademark of John E. Reed and Associates and is widely used by law enforcement agencies.
In North America.
North America.
You don't even have to read anymore. Actually, no. I'm sorry. Let's proceed.
Okay.
Go down, because I see it says 9 steps
of interrogation.
Hold it. Go that way. Don't click on that yet.
Yeah. You call it the red technique. I heard you slip up and call it the red technique.
Go down.
Call it the red.
You call it the red technique.
Reed technique. Go down.
Yeah.
All right, let's read these steps real quick.
The 9 steps of interrogation. The Reed technique's 9 steps of interrogation are: direct confrontation, advise the suspect that the evidence has led the police to the individual as a suspect, offer the person an early opportunity to explain why the offense took place. Number 2, try to shift the blame away from the suspect to some other person or set of circumstances that prompted the suspect to commit the crime. That is, develop themes containing reasons that will psychologically justify or excuse the crime. Themes may be developed or changed to find one to which the accused is most responsive.
Come on.
Number 3, try to minimize the frequency of suspect denials. 4, at this point, the accused will often give a reason why he or she did not or could not commit the crime. Try to use this to move towards the acknowledgement of what they did. Number 5, reinforce sincerity to ensure that the suspect is receptive. Number 6, the suspect will become quieter and listen. Move the theme of the discussion towards offering alternatives. If the suspect cries at this point, infer guilt. Number 7, pose the alternative question, giving 2 choices for what happened, one more socially acceptable than the other. The suspect is expected to choose the easier option, but whichever alternative the suspect chooses, guilt is admitted.
Damn. That's why you don't want to go through the Reed technique. Ask for your lawyer. Ask for your lawyer. Or this 9-step process will be the 9-step process of death, of hell. Go ahead.
As stated above, there is always a third option, which is to maintain that they did not commit the crime. 8, lead the suspect to repeat the admission of guilt in front of witnesses and develop corroboration information to establish the validity of the confession. 9, document the suspect's admission or confession and have him or her prepare a recorded statement, audio, video, or written.
Wow. They did every single one of them, especially 9.
Right.
They followed 9 to a T.
To a T.
Okay, and this was all done under what? Aggression.
Under aggression.
Now, the next part talks about the risk of false confession. Okay? Well, you can read that on your own. But let's go to the video. Jump to, this is the full hour video, right? Jump to 11 minutes and 30 seconds. All right, brothers and sisters at home, you can watch this if you choose to. It's on Vlad TV, full hour video.
But, you know, the way that they were trying to make the story sound, especially with Kevin Richardson.
Can the volume go up a little higher?
Was that they tried to make the people believe that she had scratched him. But then when you tested the fingernails and did forensics and all of that stuff, nothing matched any one of us.
Yeah.
But they still pinned it on us because, I always said that it was really more sexy.
There was no blood on the shirt. There was no blood Not even a drop of blood on these brothers.
Right.
Not even a centimeter, a millimeter of blood, a little speck of blood. Nothing.
Yep. It just seemed like a bruise. That bruise on the little boy's face that got hit by the cop's helmet.
Well, a helmet, right?
Exactly. There was nothing there.
Right.
And you know she was fighting back.
Right.
You know, when she regained some kind of consciousness, she was fighting back. That's why the real perpetrator said he hit her with the rock.
Right.
So she had to wake up and try to swing and fight back.
Right.
There was no DNA under her fingernails. Nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Read what you got.
This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 1 and verse 4. Therefore, the law is slack, and judgment does never go forth.
You hear that? So the law is slack. The law is slack on our part. It would be beautiful if these brothers could turn around and sue that Fairstein Amalek woman.
Right.
Sue her for everything she got.
Right.
For the hell that they went through.
Right.
I would sue her again just to sue her. Even if I don't get a penny, I would sue her. But then she might try to counter sue them. So yeah, that could be dangerous. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Cat, real quick, I'm sorry. I read in part of this interview, but I didn't get the timestamp. They were talking about the reason that they weren't able to go after the people that admitted to lying was because there was a statute of limitations or something in New York.
Yeah.
So they weren't able to go after them.
After the detectives and
the ones who lied.
and the prosecutor.
Yeah, they weren't able because the statute of limitations had passed. I think after 7 years, it was something crazy.
Yeah.
It's some law they made, that basically is a loophole.
Yeah. Damn, that sucks for them, man.
Let me finish this out, Cap.
Go ahead.
For the wicked thus compassed about the righteous, therefore wrong judgment proceeded.
And the wicked, the scriptures, Job 9:24, the earth is given unto the hand of the wicked. Right. Therefore, that's why it says the wicked does compass the righteous, because they're all over. Right. They are all over. Why? Because they have that power. Right. So there's nothing we could really do but what? Fall and depend on the Most High God through keeping the commandments and the faith of his son. That's all we can do. And of course, educate ourselves like we're doing now. That's why I had the two brothers, calling the two law experts, educate ourselves on the law of the land. So you do not have to be a victim of this read technique, God forbid. All right? You know your rights. Okay? Whatever God-given rights that we have as captives here in America, exercise those rights. Okay?
Right. Can I get some, Cap?
Yeah.
Psalm 78 and 5 or 6. Because Cap, that's 100, because we have to teach, our youth these commandments, and we are obligated to do so. We are obligated to do so, teaching our youth the commandments and the faith of Christ and the laws of the land too.
That's
all right. Read.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 78 and verse 5. For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they shall make them known to their children.
So the laws of God are supposed to be known to their children.
That's
if they grew up with the commandments of the Most High God, they would be wiser. They'd be wiser. They would make better decisions. But that's the foolery of Esau. They brought us up in this system with no father figure. So all we have, a lot of us, is the streets, and we grew up by the streets. Read.
It says that their generations to come might know them.
Right.
Even the children which should be born.
Right. So it's a generational thing. It's a generational thing to pass down the commandments of the Most High God, because it keeps us out of mischief. It keeps us out of trouble. It keeps us from being that crack dealer, It keeps us from being that player or that whoremonger, that destroys our nation. It gets locked up for many, many years. Read.
Who should arise and declare them to their children.
Right. So it's a generational thing. Is there more?
That's it.
Okay. So it would behoove us to keep the commandments in the faith of Christ, because that's what they got in the first place. They got their laws from our history. That's where they got them from. And they manipulate them, to their own advantage.
And they don't use them. They got our laws, but like the scripture says, the law is slack.
Right.
Okay. The only time this law is going to be thoroughly magnified on this earth is when the Israelites rule this whole planet.
That's right.
Okay, we can't look to this man for justice at all.
That's right.
Okay, but go ahead, press play.
For it to be 5, people of color brutalizing a
Put up the volume.
probably wealthy investment banker at that time,
Right.
That's
who happens to be white, blonde, pretty.
Yeah.
So it made for some very compelling headlines.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. So Raymond, let's go ahead and start with you.
Mm-hmm.
You get arrested. You get brought to the precinct.
Uh-huh.
At what point did they start questioning you about this?
Well, we was there until early in the morning. I think Kevin was the first one that they took into the room, and then I was second. And so you're talking like 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. So by that time we was already there the whole night. And the line of questioning starts off very calm. It's like, just what happened that night? Tell us what happened.
Now, what he's about to explain
I
is the read technique.
Right.
What he is about to explain is the read technique. Okay, go ahead.
Story of who I was with, who I came with, what I saw that night, and that was it. And then it was like, but wait a minute, what about this woman? And I go, what woman? And they say, the woman who got raped. And I'm like, whoa, I don't know nothing about that. I never saw that. I don't know nothing about that. And that line of questioning goes on for hours. And then I had my grandmother there who was sitting with me at the time, and she spoke very little English, but she can't carry a conversation. She just knew a lot of curse words in English, right? And so they had to translate between me and her. And so I guess that became problematic for them. And so it was like, all right, we got to get her out the room. And that's when it starts. And by this time, you're under, 3-4 hours of questioning, of not knowing what's going to happen. The pressure is just so great. And it gets even greater as the questioning goes on, And so for me, they started to do the intimidation tactics, right? They had an officer come in, he'll knock at the door, he'll bring my grandmother out, and he'll talk to her in Spanish.
That's it.
And while they got her outside, that's when they started to work on me.
Right.
So, they'll bring an officer in, who's real tall, he gives me this look, threatens me, what the fuck are you looking at? At that point, I'm about 5'6", 120 pounds, soaking wet. And it just builds from there. It builds from there until they get me to a point that I feel like I'm so helpless, And for me, that point came because with the officers coming in and out the room, it happened about 3 times. The third time is when the officer who's actually asking me the questions, where he just flips and he's like, I'm tired of this shit. He bangs on the table and he reaches for me. And at that point, I feel like I'm not going to make it out the precinct. I feel like I'm going to die, right?
Sounds your brain.
And at that same moment, a detective who comes in the room, sitting in the back, stops him. Starts yelling at him, cursing at him. What the fuck are you doing? You crazy? Get out the room. Kicks him out the room.
So
and
this
at that
is
moment, I feel like
this is the good cop, bad cop part.
Right.
All right. Also using the read technique. Good cop, bad cop. Come in. Hey, look, man. Look, kid. I really like you. You're a sharp-looking kid. I don't want you to get into any trouble. You see this guy? You see my coworker here, my colleague? Oh, man, this guy's on the edge, man. He wants you. He wants your blood. Give me something, man. I can't help you. Give me something, man.
Right.
The other guy in the room, what's his name? Raymond? Whatever. He said you did it, man. Give me something.
Right.
Give me something so I can protect you.
Right.
And that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. Go ahead.
My life, right? And he sits there and he goes, Raymond, you a good kid. I know you ain't do this, but you got these guys in the other precincts and they saying you did it. I need your help.
Man.
And I'm like, so what the hell am I going to tell this dude? Because I don't know. I don't know the facts. I wasn't there. I didn't see shit. But what he does is he gives me a lifeline. He pulls out a picture of Kevin Richardson. He lays it on the table. And he says, you see this kid right here? Do you know him? I say, no. And he said, well, this is Kevin. You see the scratch on his face? That came from the jogger fighting him off. Now, we know he going to jail, but I don't want you to go to jail. So I need you to help me out. Give me something. And then he just sits back and he just looks at me and just waits.
Man.
And at that moment, as a 14-year-old kid, what are you doing? We're trying to figure out a lie to tell, something just to stop the pressure from overcoming. And that's how it goes.
This is classic good cop, bad
Good cop, bad
cop. Wait. I want to just interject there because I knew that piece was going to come up in terms of the classic good cop, bad cop thing. But when you are in there and it's happening to you, TV can't paint that picture.
TV can't paint it.
So when
Keep going, keep going.
we see stuff like that happen on TV, I usually tell folks that's about 50% of the reality of what really
press
goes
pause
on.
real quick.
Like they
Press pause. So we hear what's happening with the good cop, bad cop, and the techniques that they used,
Right.
and so forth. The coercing of a confession through the read technique, aggressively. And these dudes, they were young. They were little kids. They were
Right.
babies.
Right.
Just became teenagers. Just started going through puberty. They didn't know what the hell to do.
Right.
Okay, but as you know, we got the wicked ruling the world. So this is what they do. They lie and lie and lie to get confessions out of people, right?
Right.
But look at 1 Kings. This is how you properly judge. This is how you know the rightful rulers of this earth is not in a place of judgment right now. Okay, that's why we have to wait for Christ to return. Because when we rule this planet Earth, we are going to judge. We are going to judge this earth according to the Bible. All right, give me 1 Kings 3. I want you to start at verse 16.
Yes,
all right, and let's go.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 3 and verse 16. There came two women that were harlots.
So who's ruling at this time? Who was the judge at this time? The main judge, King Solomon.
Yes, sir.
Okay, he had to, guess what? He had some detective work he was doing too.
Uh-huh.
So if the two women came to him, that means they came to him for what? For judgment.
For judgment.
Come on.
There came two women that were harlots unto the king and stood before him. And the one woman said, O my Lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I delivered of a child with her in the house.
Damn, so these two women were harlots.
Wow.
Or that went over a lot of people's heads.
Right.
And but go ahead.
And it came to pass the third day after that I was delivered, that this woman was delivered also, and we were together. There was no stranger with us in the house, save we two in the house. And this woman's child died in the night because she overlaid it. And she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me, while thine handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child upon my bosom. And when I rose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead.
Damn.
But when I had considered it in the morning, behold, it was not my son which I did bear.
And a mother knows her child. Come on.
And the other woman said, Nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is thy son. And this said, No, but the dead is thy son, and the living is my son. Thus they spake before the king. Then said the king, The one saith, This is my son that liveth, and thy son is dead. And the other saith, Nay, but thy son is the dead, and my son is the living. And the king said,
So this is some extreme psychosis going on.
Right.
He's trying to figure it out.
Right.
You know, both of them got the poker face on.
Right.
More than likely in a situation like this, if I was in that position to judge, I'm gonna be looking at the woman who came to me.
Right.
Who came to me with the matter. Go ahead.
And the king said, Bring me a sword. And they brought a sword.
And you know, he
before the
said
king.
that thing like he was serious.
Right.
He was in nerve. He said, Hey, bring me a sword. Come on.
And they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, Divide the living child in two.
Cut that baby in half. Come on.
And give half to the one.
Here, you'll take half of the baby.
And half to the other.
And you get half. Come on. Now you both got two dead babies. Cut in half. Come on.
Then spake the woman whose the living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son.
So the woman who was the actual mother of the living child, she was like, what? She freaked out. Like, hell no, please don't do this. Come on.
And she said, Oh, my Lord, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it.
So she said, no, please don't do that. Give her the living child, because no mother wants to see their child dead.
That's right.
Okay, come on.
But the other said, Let it be neither mine nor thine, but divided.
That's wicked as hell. That's wicked as hell. So this envious, malice-filled harlot here, she was like, look, my baby died, so let her baby die too.
Wow.
That is wicked as hell.
That's
Verse 27.
Then the king answered and said, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. She is the mother thereof.
Read.
And all Israel heard of the judgment which the king had judged, and they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of God was in him to do judgment.
That is proper judgment.
That's right.
That is proper judgment right there. And that's beautiful. That's the judgment that we look forward to. Not no damn read technique.
Right. That's right.
Getting false allegations and false confessions. Now get me our forefather, the other wise man, the other man that had the wisdom of God upon him. Get me Daniel. Let's see how Daniel judged matters in his youth. In his youth. In his youth.
Is it 51? Yes. He spoke up, though. Go up to verse.
All right, I ain't gonna play no more. Yeah.
This is the book of Susanna, verse 45. Therefore, when was led, put to death, the Lord raised up the Holy Spirit of the young man, young youth.
So history of Susanna. Susanna was accused of adultery. Okay, she was accused of adultery by two wicked priests that was trying to run a train on the sister.
Right.
Okay, and she refused. So they said, you know what? She might say that what we were trying to do.
Right.
So let's say we walked in on her trying to commit adultery. Okay, so they were getting ready to stone her here. All right, and the Most High moved the spirit of Daniel. And this is what he said. Read.
Whose name was Daniel, verse 46, who cried with a loud voice, I am clear of the blood of this woman. When all the people turned them toward him and
So
said,
all the people were the people that were willing to put the young woman to death without investigating. Come on.
what meant these words that thou hast spoken? Verse 48. So he standeth in the midst of them and said, Are ye such fools, ye sons of Israel, that without explanation of knowledge of the truth ye have condemned a daughter of Israel?
So without explanation, without researching, without a thorough investigation, they condemned this woman.
Right.
Okay, because it was wicked as hell. And they were following those two elders, those two priests who were wrongfully putting that title on her.
That's right.
Okay, read.
Verse 49. Return again to the place of judgment, for they have borne false witness against her.
So these two elders, guess what? What they were doing? They was doing the read technique.
The read technique.
They was trying to get a false confession from her to admit, yes, I was in adultery. And she was like, hell no.
Right.
Our forefathers had sense. No, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I'm not going to lie on myself and get put to death. Hell no. Come on.
Wherefore all the people turned again in haste. And the elders said unto him, Come, sit down among us, and sue it us.
And show it us.
And show it us. Seeing God had given thee the honor of an elder.
So the Most High moved their spirit to listen to young Daniel. Come on. Verse 51.
Okay, verse 51. Then said Daniel unto them, Put these two aside, one far from the other.
And you know what's crazy? And they actually do that in the investigations. That's why they had all them kids separately.
Right.
They had all them kids separately. Come on.
And I will examine them. Verse 42.
52.
Oh, verse 52, sorry. So when they were put asunder, one from the other, he called one of them and said unto him, O thou that art waxed old in wickedness.
That's talking to one of the priests who was waxing old in wickedness. Meaning if he was able to do something like this to a daughter of Sarah, and willing to put her to death to save his wicked behind, that means he had a track record of doing it. That's why Daniel said, thou art waxing old in wickedness. Come on.
Now thy sins which thou hast committed aforetime are come to light.
Let me read it. For thou hast pronounced false judgment and has condemned the innocent and has let the guilty go free. Albeit the Lord saith, the innocent and righteous shalt thou not slay.
That's right.
Now then, if thou hast seen her, tell me, under what tree sawest thou them companying together? Who answered, under a mastic tree. Okay, so that's one of the elders said, I seen her and the dude that she was banging under the mastic tree.
Right.
All right. He said, okay, you seen her under the mastic tree, all right. And Daniel said, very well. Thou hast lied against thine own head, for even now the angel of God hath received the sentence of God to cut thee in two. Damn. So he put him aside and commanded to bring the other, and said unto him, O thou seed of Canaan, and not of Judah. That's an insult. He called him a damn African.
Right.
He said, you dirty, stinking Hamite,
Right.
and not of Judah. Beauty hath deceived thee, and lust hath perverted thine heart. Thus have ye dealt with the daughters of Israel, and they for fear companied with you, meaning you had a track record of doing this to Ephraim,
Right.
the northern kingdom. You had a track record of doing this to Ephraim, and they agreed with you. But the daughter of Judah
That's right.
would not abide in your wickedness.
That's right.
Okay?
Judah.
But guess what? You can't say that today with all these Judah dots running around on World Star Hip Hop. All the 12 tribes is wicked as hell. You can't even say that. All the 12 tribes is wicked as hell, man. These Negroes, these wicked women, you can't even say that now.
Damn, Cap.
You can't even say, I know, you was getting happy for a minute.
Right.
You was about to put up the black fist,
Right.
Judah. You was about to go, Judah.
Right,
No, I can't give you that one, man. Not with these thought bots
That's
on or World Star Hip Hop.
That's right.
But the daughter of Judah would not abide in your wickedness. Now, therefore, tell me, under what tree didst thou take them companying together? Who answered, under an home tree. So you see the lie? One said Damascus tree, the other said a home tree. Then said Daniel unto him, well, thou hast also lied against thine own head, for the angel of God waiteth with the sword to cut thee in two, that he may destroy you. All praises for the Most High. Guess what? That's how you judge.
That's right.
That's the right way to judge.
That's right.
And that proper way to judge will not happen on this earth until the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and natives return to power as Israelites.
That's right.
Okay?
That's
So we can't depend on these wicked Negroes to judge us, all right? So take this down before we get a copyright infringement crap.
Hey, Cap, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
quick?
Come on, go ahead.
You know the amazing thing about this with Daniel? He was a young boy, but what is he spewing right here? He's spewing the milk. The basic law, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. And it made him a seen as a wise man in the eyes of his elders in the simplest form. So that law is important coming in.
Yeah, go down. I don't think we could play this. I do want to play it, but we might get flagged for that, right? That's yeah. We should be good? All right, play that real quick.
One thing about that read technique, man, you kind of compare it to the Willie Lynch letter. They always had a little file how they can deal with us. You know what I mean?
Right.
Absolutely. Yep.
So this is the director that directed the movie, huh? What's her name?
Ava DuVernay.
Ava DuVernay. She kind of reminds you of Ali's daughter, man. With the looks.
Yeah, they look alike.
They look alike.
Is that a Levite name? Duvernay?
Oh, I don't know. I would have to look it up.
Okay.
The men known as the Central Park Five and director Ava DuVernay
I've never seen that far from you.
reconnecting in New York at the end of an emotional journey. Together, turning a real story of stolen youth and wrongful conviction into a dramatic Netflix series called When They See Us.
They saw you rape the lady. I didn't see a lady or hit anyone.
I didn't see any lady.
Kevin.
I didn't see any lady.
Explain the title.
I really became allergic to the idea of calling it Central Park 5. They were given this name by the press, by political forces, and it really takes away their personal power. When they see us, it humanizes them.
John, these police will mess us up. They not playing. They not.
Before a white female jogger was beaten and raped in New York Central Park in 1989, they were just 5 teenagers from Harlem: Yusuf Salam, Antron McCray, Kevin Richardson, Corey Wise, and Raymond Santana. But soon after the horrific crime, they were arrested and quickly branded the Central Park Five.
This whole process was surreal, just to see like our life story portrayed and to still be relevant 30 years later.
Is my mom here? It's just us. You and us.
Convicted on what they always maintained were coerced confessions, each was sentenced to years behind bars.
Corey, what was it like for you to watch those scenes of your
It was
incarceration?
crazy, man. The brother, was it Wise? Man, he caught it the worst.
Yeah.
He had the Aryan Nation.
Right. Yeah, that was
They
terrible.
beat him up.
Yeah.
He had that police officer, the Ephraimite dude, who was like, "What can you do for me?"
Right. Yeah.
I was like, what can you do for me? I was like, ew, what the hell is he going into?
Right. That
right
was
now?
pervert.
Yeah.
That was eerie right there.
Then you had the other brother, the bourgeoisie CO, with a chip on his shoulder.
Right.
Remember when he was getting jumped
Right.
by the brothers,
Right.
and then he walked away from the brother. I was like, wow, he caught. Man, he caught
hell.
he caught hell, man.
Right.
Well, go ahead.
And Captain, that was the brother that wasn't even involved in it. You know what I mean? Well, that was the brother that wasn't involved. He was just going down because he
Just went
said,
with his
"Listen,
friend."
if I don't go down with you, man, your mama kill me."
Right.
That was a good friend, man. But that's the guy right there with the red shorts. Go ahead though, run it.
It was. Still is, but it was.
Their convictions were vacated in 2002 after another man confessed to the attack. His DNA a match. The Central Park Five were awarded $41 million in a settlement with the city of New York.
We didn't get an apology, all the time we did for something we didn't do, and it hurts.
We have this indelible scar of, oh, that's, Kevin Richardson, the guy from the Central Park jogger case.
The Wilding case.
The Wilding case.
So nothing makes that right.
Nothing. And it's 30 years
These
later,
guys are
and we are
idiots,
the
man.
proof.
I'm not talking about these brothers. I'm talking about the people that keep saying that.
Right.
I think in the Vlad TV thing, there was one point where he said, asked him, would you do it again to get the bread? Something stupid like that.
Right.
Man, these guys are idiots, man. They just people do anything for money. So you'll get wrongfully convicted in due time for some damn $41 million.
Right.
Meaning the money you could blow by that. I can tell you 10 things to buy that'll blow $41 million.
Right.
You'll blow through that, but your integrity and your dignity and your honor, that stays with you for life. Right. Even after you die.
Right.
Even after you drop dead and you give up the ghost, that integrity, what you did in your life, your name, your reputation, that stays with you. That's why we're still talking about what? Malcolm X until this day.
Right.
That's
Marcus Garvey until this day.
That's right.
But these niggas, or these he's not even a Negro. Damn Vlad TV asking him some stupid stuff like that.
Right.
Would you do it again for that amount of money?
Right.
Simple as hell.
One of the things, Cap, because our people make money, they idle. Our people idle money.
Yeah.
That's their idols, that dollar bill. That's what they care about the most. But go ahead, run it.
Yeah, that and ratings.
You damage kids as young as 14, 15, and 16 years old for a period of 14 and a half years, right? And beyond. How do you fix that?
Their story, now a passion project for this celebrated director.
So I really wanted to show how one comes out dealing with kind of being half a citizen and how this was put upon these boys.
You heard what she
for a
said?
crime.
To be half a citizen.
Right.
And Miss or Mrs. Duvernay, I don't know if she's married or not. You hit it right on the money. We are half a citizens. Okay, we are denizens. The Constitution deems us what? 3/5 of a man.
Yeah,
Okay, when it comes to voting and all of that. So till this day, we're the only race that got to vote for, that got to go back to Congress to get the right to vote.
Every 50 years.
Okay, the only race of people. We are the only race of people that do that. So she hit it right on the money. Go ahead.
And for the men who lived it, validation.
A series like this paints the picture of what it is like to be a person of color in America, for what we went through and what it represents for the rest of the world is tremendous.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking.
Okay, that was it. All right. So we want to let everybody know that if anything, you want to, in this truth especially, you want to, if you do suffer persecution, any kind of jail time, okay, it's for righteousness' sake. You want to suffer for righteousness' sake. All right. And if you do get wrongfully convicted or indicted on something that you did not do, pray, fast, and of course, what we learned tonight, brothers, remain silent and get a lawyer. Get a lawyer, all right? And we pray for our brothers and sisters. We pray, hopefully, Lord willing, the Most High move the spirit of these brothers to repent and come across this truth and repent.
Right.
Okay, we pray you brothers repent. And with that, we're going to end it out. Thank you for tuning in to In the Scripts Reloaded. See y'all next week, Lord willing. Shalom.
You are listening to In the Scripts Reloaded.